Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Hope everybody had a wonderful week. It's been very busy around here as usual. I have had the last 2 days off from watching Nathan, but it's been crazy busy. I've been designing projects for you for next week and took a trip to the ballet store today. Well, the dance store. I guess it's not just ballet, but had to get point shoes for Caitlin. So let's take a look and see who we have on. Hopefully I turned my volume off so we won't get an echo. Computer's going to do this to me again tonight. What is the deal? I'm on the right. Okay, why can't we just, there we go. There we go. Hello. Go ahead and comment and let me know when you're here. Hello, Lynette. So happy to see you. I'm going to be using the Hello Harvest set. I believe you have this set, do you not? So we'll be showing you 2 different cards to use tonight for this. Our first card is going to be an autumnal card, and the second card will be a Christmas card. So I want to show you how versatile this one stamp set can be. Hello, Tracy. Thank you for joining. All right. So we've got this, the Hello Harvest, along with the rustic pumpkin dies. And we'll be using this bundle. And of course, when you purchase these 2 in a bundle, you save 10%. We're also going to be using the Rustic Harvest DSP on the first card. Of course, I'm not going to be using it on the second card. But this is the beautiful papers that you get in the Rustic Harvest Designer Series paper. They're just beautiful. And of course, with all the black and white on the back, and even these greens, you can use this for any season. It doesn't have to be just for autumn. Okay. So we're going to be using the pumpkin piece of DSP. This beautiful piece right here. I love this piece. All right. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started with our stamping. I'm going to pull in the Stamparatus because we're going to be stamping 3 images, and I'm just going to stamp them all at once. Because why not? Let's save ourselves some effort. I'm pulling in the gnome from the Kindest Gnomes set. So I love this set. You all know that if you've watched me for any length of time. The Kindest Gnomes and the Gnomes dies. I'm not using the dies tonight, even though we're using the gnome. And then we're going to put this on here. We're going to try and make this fit. Doesn't really matter how they go here. Just as long as we can get all 3 on the paper. I'm going to put my door down, and then we'll stamp all of these in Memento. And these will be the major pieces on our card. Now I'm doing this for 2 reasons. 1, I can get them all in one go. And 2, if I have any areas on this one detailed stamp, then I can re-ink. And it looks like, of course, I got that one a little close to the side there. Okay, let's go ahead. Get that. Sometimes when you get too close to the hinge on the Stamparatus, you really, there we go. Now I've got it all. Okay, so now we've got them all done in one go. I'm going to go ahead and clean those off with my Simply Chamois. And this is my new Simply Chamois. My other one got kind of trashed. I really like this one better than the older one because it's a little bit more floppy and flexible. So if yours is getting all black and yucky, you might want to consider trading it in for the new model. Okay, so let's go ahead and set our Stamparatus aside. We've got the stamping done. And we'll pull out our supplies for this card. Put that stamp pad out of the way. Okay, I've already brought in the dies that we're going to be using on this card. Sorry, you guys, I feel like I'm coming down with something, and so I've got this frog in my throat tonight. Hello, Mary. Glad to see you on. So bear with me as I work through the frog in my throat. So we've got the pumpkin from the Rustic Pumpkin dies, and these 3 tendrils are also, actually all of these on this side are from the Rustic Pumpkins. This is from the Kindest Gnomes. And then we've got a scallop from the Scallop Contoured set. And this one here is from the Charming Sentiments bundle. And this will cut out the Beyond Grateful. And these are, the images on the cover are shown at 85%, but this one will cut fully the Beyond Grateful sentiment in here. So we'll be using that. And as you know, I've done some of my die cutting already to save us some time. But I wanted to show you a bit of how I colored my pumpkin. So we're going to pull in some Stampin' Blends. Okay. So I tried to make my pumpkin look like my paper a little bit. Let's go ahead and get you a non-messy grid paper here. So I'm going to start with my dark Cajun Craze for my pumpkin. And actually, I'm going to use the brush tip, which I don't usually do. I'm just going to throw on a little bit of color up here at the top, and I'm making sure that I follow the curves of the pumpkin so that I can be sure to give it some dimension and make it look circular. And I'm basically putting my dark down on the artist lines here. Now I am going to go back with a little bit along the edges, but I want to switch to my bullet tip here. And I'm going to put down a line right here where this edge of my pumpkin would provide a shadow. And a line here where that edge would also provide a shadow, and here. Okay. And then I'm going to go with my light Cajun Craze. And again, I'm going to take my brush tip. And I might need to get out the new one. This one is getting, hang on. Let me grab the new one. I've got it over here ready to go. There we go. That's much better. Notice how on the center one I'm going 2 directions. I want to curve it so that it looks rounded. And then I'll curve to the right on the right side and to the left on the left side. All right, and I'm happy with that. So I'm gonna let that dry for a minute. I'm going to go back with my color lifter because I did get a little bit here at the bottom, and I'm going to go outside and push my color back inside. So I go outside of the black line and just run my color lifter there, and it will push that color back inside the black line. All right, so then we're going to take our SU 200. This is in the Natural Tones collection in the deep, and we're going to color the top of our pumpkin, which doesn't really matter because actually we're not even going to see it. Okay, but that gave that a bit of time to dry. So I'm going to show you how I colored the flowers here. So I'm going to start with my dark Cajun Craze again. And I'm only going to color one of these because I already have it done. So I'm going to swipe up and give one long stroke, two short. One long stroke, two short. Here I'm just going to give quick two. The artist has three little lines, so one long and two short will do it. And I'm just going to do that on each of these petals with my dark. Okay, then I'm going to go back with my light. And actually I'm going to start this way and pull my color out away from the center. And I'm just going over all of what I've just cut. I colored in the dark so that everything blends well. And we'll get that finished up. Okay. Then I'm going to take, I'm going to go back to my pumpkin now. And I'm going to take my color lifter. Because as you can see from our designer series paper, our pumpkin has a lot of white. So we're going to take our color lifter. And I'm going to take the brush tip. And I'm just going to follow the lines of my pumpkin again. I'm not going to get too crazy. And then I'm going to let that sit and see how I like it. So it takes a minute. And then we're going to go on. I'm going to take my Mary Merlot Stampin' Write marker. Stampin' Blends do not come in Mary Merlot. And I wanted to use this color. So I'm taking my Stampin' Write marker. And again with my brush tip, I'm going to fill in gently the centers of these little flowers here. Okay. I'm going to do all of those like that. And then I'm going to take my Stampin' Write marker and I'm going to color in the pants on my gnome. Now, if you're not comfortable with the brush tip, you can always use the bullet tip. But there are his pants now in Mary Merlot. And because this is such a small area, I don't have to worry about streaking like you do oftentimes with these Stampin' Writes. Okay. So I'm going to go back now. I'm looking at my pumpkin. I think I want a little bit more white. So I'm just going to drag that in a couple of spots again. And you will get some staining on the top from the dark colors, but it doesn't hurt your marker. And I'm going to go with my dark Cajun Craze on my gnome's hat. And I'm going to follow the artist's lines here, but I'm going to exaggerate them. I want some creases in his hat. And then I'm going to go along the fold line there of the little tip. And along the left edge. And then where this is folded back, there would be a shadow. And around his hand. And then right here, I'm just going to dab that with the tip of my marker so that that doesn't bleed. And I'm also going to go into this underneath because this would be shadowed as well. Now I'm going to go back with my light Cajun Craze. And with small circular strokes, I'm going to go right over all of that. And I'm going to fill that in. And that will blend those colors together. And give me the look I want. Okay, there we are. So now we've got his hat, and you can see that he's got some little fold lines that make that look a little aged. Okay, so for the gnome's face, I'm going to use SU 900. That's also from the Natural Tones collection. And if you can see here on the mitten, I got a little bit of Cajun Craze. I can push that out with my SU 900 and push it back into its line. Okay, so we've got that. All right, and for his shirt, we're going to use Dark Mossy Meadow. And I'm just going to outline it with the dark where there would be some shadows. And then I'm going to go back with the light Mossy Meadow. And with those small circular motions again, I'm going to fill that in and blend it. Okay. All right, let's work on our leaves. We're going to get some, I'm not going to do all of these. I'm just going to show you because I already have these colored. So I'm just going to put in some light Mossy Meadow in these leaves here. And I'll do all of those that way. And for these ones that have the little stripe in them, I'm going to put in my dark. And they go down into the flowers, so I'm going to add a little extra dark along the folds of the petals. Okay. And then I'm going to go back and very carefully fill those in with the light. And I'm not even trying to blend it. I want that two-tone color. Okay. For the centers of our flowers, we're going to use the Dark Daffodil Delight blend. I find that if you use this Dark Daffodil Delight all on its own, it tends to look a little bit like crushed curry. And so that's what we're going to do. And then with these flowers here, we're going to use the Dark Pale Papaya. Okay. And then we would take and put all of the coordinating dies on here. Like so. And we would be able to run those through the die cut machine. Okay? But through the magic of prep work, we already got those done for you. Okay? So we've got our flowers. We've got our pumpkin. And we've got our little gnome here. And the gnome I hand cut out because I wanted him to have a very narrow white border, especially on this side because he's going to sit right next to our pumpkin. Okay, so in addition to the, once I cut this out on this one, I took the light pale papaya. And I didn't like all the white space. So I took the light pale papaya after I cut it out and I went through and I put in a little bit of light pale papaya in around everything just to take that white out. And I didn't go outside the edges because I wanted to leave that white border so that it looked uniform to the rest. But I didn't want all this white space in the middle. Okay, so I did all of that around all of the flowers, and then I went back with my color lifter and I took some of that back, lightened it up because I didn't want it to be so dark. I wanted it to be very light. Okay. So when you do that, then this is what you have, and I added Wink of Stella to the 3 large flowers. Okay, so now we've got these pieces. And we need to stamp our greeting. We're going to do that in Mossy Meadow. And this Beyond Grateful comes from the Charming Sentiments. And I'll just stamp that right down here. Like that. And then we would take our coordinating die and cut that out. And then we get our sentiment, which is Beyond Grateful. Okay, so we've got all those. Now ahead of time, I cut the second largest scallop from the scallop contour dies, and I cut that in cardstock vellum. For the inside, you're going to need a piece of 3 5/8 by 4 7/8 a piece of paper. Basic white, and I've taken a 1/2 inch by 4 7/8 inch of the Rustic Harvest DSP, and I've put that down the right side, and then I stamped in Mossy Meadow this little image in each corner, and then stamped the dash and dot image below it. Okay, so we've got that for the inside of our card. Our card base is Cajun Craze 5.5 by 8.5. Hello, Cynthia. So glad you could join us. Okay, and the last thing that we need to do, which I didn't do ahead of time, is take a piece of copper foil. And I didn't do this ahead of time because I wanted to show you. It's very important when you're working with foil that you only use the size piece that you need. because if you have any scoring marks from your dies on top of your top plate, that will transfer into your foil. And you don't want that on your pieces. So you take the smallest piece that you can get, and we're going to take the 3 tendrils. I call them tendrils. I'm not sure what they are. Curly, stocky thingies. Oh, and we might want to put the cut side down because that's the best way to use them. And I'm just going to put those on there. And I'm going to run all 3 through on that one small piece. Now this is about 1.5 by 2 inches, and that will cut all 3 of your pieces. And I've just run that through the mini. And then we've got, whoops, our 3 pieces that we need. Okay, then we'll just take and pull those out gently. And I did not use adhesive sheet on the back of these because I did not want adhesive all over. I want to be able to tuck some on top, some below. Okay, so now there's my piece of paper that I have left. Not really a bunch of waste there. Okay, so I think we have all the pieces now to start putting our card together. So let's grab our card base and give it a nice crisp fold with our bone folder. And then we'll add our designer series paper, and this is 4 by 5 1/4. Okay, so we're going to add this to our card base. And then next, we're going to set that aside. Well, actually, let's go ahead and put our inside piece in. I did not put a sentiment on the inside because I'll wait and do that when I know who this is going to and what it's for. Then I can pick an appropriate sentiment. Okay, so there is the beginnings of our card. All right, so now I'm going to take the piece of vellum and I'm going to start building on my vellum. So we're going to put our pumpkin down first. And the first thing that I'm going to do with my pumpkin is I'm going to take my bone folder and I'm going to curl it just a bit, just to give it that a little bit of dimension. Okay. And then this is going to go on top like so. And I'm going to trim my gnome up just a little bit. I just got a little bit too much white up top for my liking for this particular card. Okay, so then I'm going to do this. And this is going to go over here, but it'll sit off. So we'll put that on in a minute. So let's go ahead and put our pumpkin down first. This looks about how I want it. So we're going to start with a Stampin' Dimensional, and I'm going to put this Stampin' Dimensional right in the center of my pumpkin. Just like so. And then I'm going to take my glue and put it around the edge of my pumpkin. Okay, pull off that backing. And I'm going to set my pumpkin down. And then I'm going to take my bone, I'm going to hold this side and I'm going to take my bone folder. And I'm going to give that a press along the edges so the edges adhere. But I still have that bump in the middle so that my pumpkin appears rounded. Okay, I don't know if you can tell that. All right. Now we're going to add our flowers again, and this time we're going to use dimensionals. I'm going to pop those all up. And I need to cover the stem of that pumpkin. Okay, and notice how I'm leaving this edge down here. That's important. And then I'm going to put my gnome over here. But because I've got the bump here in the center, I want to put a dimensional over here on the right side of my gnome. Okay, and I'm going to put him right here like this. And now he looks like he's sitting in front of my pumpkin. Okay, so now we're ready to adhere this to our card. So because I've built all of my stuff on my pumpkin now, or on my vellum, now I can take and put my Stampin' Seal over where my items are, and I don't have to worry about that. My adhesive showing through my vellum on the front of my card. So I'm just going to put this down. Okay. And I'm going to take my sentiment and I'm going to sit it here. But before I actually adhere it, I'm going to grab these. Oh, there's my pokey tool. Take your pick tool and I'm going to get out these excess chads that didn't immediately pop out. And I'm going to take a look at where I want these. I'm going to put this one over here. I'm going to stick it kind of up, kind of down, and just, I think, like that. This is why I didn't use adhesive seats, because I wanted to be able to wind those into my flower pieces. So this one, we're going to go like this. And then this bottom one, or this straighter one, we're going to make this look like our gnome is sort of sitting on that. The piece did not pop out of there. There it goes. It's just being stubborn. Okay. So we'll have just that little bit sticking out there. So I'm going to use my fine tip bottle that my friend Cynthia gave me. Now this does have the Tombow multi-purpose liquid glue in it. And all I've done is fill the bottle. But this gives me a better precision tip, and I love it. Okay, so you don't need much. And again, we're going to stick part of that down. Wind that in there. Press it down. Stick it. This one, we're going to put a little bit of glue here. I need to refill my bottle, I think. And then I want to put a little bit here where this is going to stick up on those flowers. So I'm going to tuck that in there, like so. I need a little bit more glue here, I think. There we go. Boop. And excellent. Okay. Then this one, just hit a couple of these larger areas. Stick that in there like so. Hold it for just a second. The thing about the Tombow is it's a good strong glue, but it does take a minute or two to grab. So you do have to be patient. Okay. So now the final piece of this card. Oh, we need to add this, don't we? Okay, so we're just going to glue this down. Like so. Okay. Then we're going to add some champagne rhinestones. So, put one here. Put one down here. And I'm going to take a medium one. And I'm going to stick it right up here. Okay. And there is our finished card. I hope you liked that. And for the envelope, I've taken a leaf from the Autumn Harvest and also the flower, one of the single flowers. And I stamped that in mossy green in the second generation, and then I colored that in the same manner that I colored in the flowers that I showed you. All right. So that's our first project. Go ahead and pick all these things up. Get them out of the way. Oh, I want to show you where I started on this card. This actually started out as a sketch challenge card that I did, and this was the original card. But I thought it was a little bit busy the way it was, and so I modified it to this one. Okay, but we're still going to do this fold. We're just going to do it on a Christmas card. All right, so there are those cards. Oh, and to show you the flap of those envelopes, I used those two little stamps again. Okay, let's set these out of the way. And then we can get started with our next project. Okay. So here is our next card, just so you can know where we're going. And this too uses the Autumn Harvest stamp set. But I turned it into a Christmas card. Okay, so the designer series paper for this comes from the Lights Aglow Designer Series paper, which is in the July to December mini catalog. It's a 6x6 stack of paper. Has lots of nice little smaller prints so that you can make some really nice cards with that. And you get 4 sheets of each design so that you can make multiple cards. All right. So we are using these 2 patterns. I've got lots of little pieces here, leftovers, which I will find a use for. So we've got this pattern, and on the back is this, and on the back is this, okay? So the important thing to note about this card is when you pick your front pattern, if you don't like the back pattern, you'll have to cover that because this card is going to show both sides. Okay. It's a good way to show both sides of your paper. All right, and I've done quite a bit of the pre-coloring, so you didn't have to watch me color. But I am going to show you how I made my basket. Now, this basket comes from Cheerful Basket. And again, I've only used the stamp set. It does have dies. I think they must be over in my container. But I hand cut this because, again, I didn't want a big border. Okay, so I've used the Cheerful Basket. And let's start with that. We're going to go ahead on this. We're going to take the watercolor pencil, Early Espresso. And I'm going to color this in with my watercolor pencil. I didn't want it to be just crumb cake, but you could if you choose. I'm going to color this a little bit heavier. I'm not worrying about the handle. The handle's going to be covered, so I'm really not worried about that. But I do need to worry about this portion because part of this is going to show. So I'm going to put heavier color on the edge. And notice how I'm coloring in the direction of the line. So I'm coloring across on this because I want my wood grain to look like it goes this direction. And I'm going to do the same down here. Put a little bit darker on the edges where there would be shadow. Okay. And then I'm going to go back here and I'm going to color these in the direction again of the wood grain. Little circles at the bottom and top so that I am sure to get up underneath that edge. And I stamped this basket in Early Espresso on the crumb cake. Okay, so there's my basket. Now I'm going to take my blender pen. These come in a pack of 3, and they're dual tipped. Both have brush tips, so you in essence get 6 ends in every pack. And all I'm going to do is rub this along and take out my pencil strokes. Makes it look like I watercolored it rather than colored with a colored pencil. Okay. And I'm going to take some of that color off because I don't want all of that color going back into my inside part. So I'm going to clean that between each slat. I don't want these to be dark. And that's how you clean your binder pens off. You just run them on a piece of paper until you get the liquid to run clear again. Okay. And now we have our basket. Now again, I'm going to curve this just a little bit. So I want my basket to appear a little bit rounded, not completely flat. All right. Then again, we need to stamp those flowers. This time we just need this. So we're just going to stamp this one. All right. And then we're going to take our Evening Evergreen stamp pad. And from the Vintage Christmas stamp set, I'm going to take this greenery image. We'll also be using this small pine cone image here. But we're going to start with these, and we need 3 of the Evening Evergreen. Okay, so we're going to stamp these 3. Okay. Oh, we need to keep that out. Now I'm going to clean that off on my chamois because we've got these holes in here. And I didn't like that. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to add, I'm just going to selectively ink this one side. And then I'm going to add it in. Okay. Now, I'm going to clean that again. So I don't want them to all look exactly the same. So this time I'm going to clean, or I'm going to stamp. Oh, wait a minute, I stamped too much. Okay, I'm going to ink the opposite side. Okay, so I'm going to bring that in, and I'm going to ink the other 2 small ones on the right side. And I'm going to add that in. All right. And then I'm going to take some Post-it note tape. And I'm going to tape up those. And I'm going to ink the center. And I'm going to add this one in this time. Okay? So now I've got those. Now to this, I'd like to add some pine cones because Christmas should have pine cones. So we're going to take the pine cone image and we're going to ink up the one pine cone over here. And we're going to think left, middle, and right. So I want a pine cone left. I want a pine cone middle. And and I want a pine cone right. All right. Okay. And that will give us those. Now we'll need to fussy cut those out. And I didn't want you to have to do that, so do the Manage of Television. There they are. For these, I've colored the flowers this time. I used the little orchid, the dark orchid oasis for these little blue flowers, or purple flowers. I'm making them purple. Okay. For the leaves, I colored them like I did last time, but I used soft succulent for the smaller leaves that don't have all the lines through them. Okay, then I went back with my dark soft succulent and I just put a little titch of color at the ends, okay? At the bases, I mean. And for the lined ones, I did a dark evening evergreen stripe, and then I filled it in with the light. Okay. Flowers are done in Cherry Cobbler. And of course, I started with the dark. Did that same technique along this one here. I just put some dabs there on the bent ones. And then I filled that in with the Cherry Cobbler. Okay. All right. And for the centers, I used the dark So Saffron to give the illusion that they might be a poinsettia. Okay. I left these ones in the Very Vanilla. I didn't color them. And by the way, this is Very Vanilla that I'm stamping on. Okay. So I've got that. And then what we're going to do with these white pieces is we're going to take the puff paint. Let me cut this down. Oop. Cut that down. Get rid of. We're going to shake up our puff paint really good. Give it a good roll between our hands. Tip it upside down. Rub it again. I want to make sure I really get that liquid mixed up. Okay. And I'm going to get out my wood board here so I don't burn my surface. And then I'm going to take my puff paint and I'm going to very carefully, because this is runny, just dot these little flowers. I'm not even squeezing the bottle. Just dropping that down. And then I'm going to take my tweezers from my Embossing Essentials kit, Additions kit. I'm going to turn on my heat tool. It's going to get a little noisy. I'm going to heat that up for a second. And I'm going to go from the underneath. I don't have a lot of room here. And I'm going to heat that up so that the back of the puff paint dries as well as the inside and outside. I heat that up a bit. And then I'm going to take my heat tool. I'm going to put that over the top of my puff paint. And as soon as it puffs, I'm going to move my heat tool away. Because I don't want to burn it. I just want it to puff. Whoops, my pieces are flying. Okay, I can see that I've got some wet spots. So make sure I get those all nice and dry and puffed. And then I've got these little puffy flowers. I hope you can see that. See the dimension in those flowers. Okay, and if you didn't get the puff that you wanted, these ones puff, but they didn't puff as much as I would have liked. So then I'm going to go back and I'm going to put a little bit more on there. And I can heat that again. Okay. You don't want to put your heat tool too close. Okay, now I've got some serious puffing there. Okay. Now that's not exactly dry and it needs a little bit more heat, but you get the idea. Okay. So then you would take and cut that out with your die and add some Wink of Stella again to the cherry cobbler flowers, which I've done. And now we have our pieces. Now I also stamped 2 of the extra little flowers that are in that autumn harvest set. Okay. And I've colored those just like the others. And now we are ready to start assembling our card. Okay, so this card is going to have a cherry cobbler card base. Okay, and our card base is 5.5 by 5.5. And we're going to score it at 4 1/4 on one side. And that's going to leave us this when we fold it. So we'll have standard card size. Okay. Then you're going to need a piece of the Lights Aglow Designer Series paper. I chose this dark green pattern. Now, I'm happy with the pattern that's on the back. But what you need to know is that when you put this in, your back, when you open it, will show. So if this is not what you want to see on the inside, then you'll need to take either another piece of the Designer Series paper, cut it the same 4 by 5 1/4, or a piece of plain cardstock, 4 and 5 by 4 1/4, and adhere these two together before you adhere them to the card. Okay? So we also have a piece of the Designer Series paper that is cut at 1 by 5 1/4, and we're going to adhere this to this little 1 1/4 inch piece. And we also need a piece for the inside that is very vanilla, 4 by 5 1/4, and I've added a 1 inch by 5 1/4 inch piece of the paper. I've stamped this with the vintage, or not the vintage, the Framed and Festive stamp set. That this is the sneak peek from the new collection that will be coming out November 1st in just a few days. And I've also stamped those flowers down in the corner. I did not puff them because this is going to be the inside of the card. I just left them blank. So let's go ahead and add this to our card. We want to do this part first. It makes the adhering of our outside piece a little bit easier. So if we center this up, okay, we center that up. Let's go ahead and add this piece to our front. And I'm going to lay that flat because it's easiest for me to do that. And with this, I'm going to use a little bit of liquid glue so that I can move it into place here. Okay. All right. Go ahead and give that a press again. Then I'm going to line this piece up with my inside piece. I'm going to put it in there so that it's exactly over that. And then I'm going to turn this upside down because that's easier for me if I have it on the right. It's going to line that up, and I'm going to put a little bit of glue right here. Okay, I'm making sure that I stop before I get to past this edge of the DSP and this edge. And then I'm just going to take this, fold it down, give it a good press. And now my card lines up. You can't see my inside piece. And everything looks good. All right. Now, did I not cut my piece of vellum? It doesn't look like I did. Oops. I thought I did. Okay, we've got to cut a piece of cardstock vellum. Let me grab a piece of vellum because for some reason I don't have that cut. I thought I did. So I've got a piece of vellum here. I don't know if I can run this through. Let's see how wide this is. Oops. Is this more than 3.5? Let's see. Nope, I can get it through. Okay, I can run this through the mini. Just need to cut my vellum down to 3.5 so I can get it through the mini machine. So we're taking a piece of cardstock vellum and we're going to use the seasonal labels dies. These were in last year's holiday mini. I'm not sure if these are in the mini this year or if they're in the annual catalog, but they did return and they are still available. They came with the bundled with, and I don't think they're still bundled, but initially they were bundled with the Christmas season stamp set. And I'll show that stamp set to you here in a moment, in case you remember that from last year. Okay, and there's actually more dies than what I showed you because I have the other ones inside the case. I kept the labels in my other pieces so that they could be used for all cards. All right, so we've got that. And now, again, we can start building our basket. Okay, so we're going to set this down. This is going to go over here. But before, we're just building here. So we're going to set this here. Let's go ahead and put our basket. Well, let's put our flowers, figure out about where we want our basket. So this is how this is going to go. This one's going to go on the right because it has the, oh, I forgot to do this, you guys. Before we do that, hang on, we have to fill this in. let me get the Evening Evergreen ink again. Or get the Evening Evergreen ink. We're going to take that greenery again, but this time we're just going to use this little tiny stamp over here. So I'm going to ink up just that piece. And I need a piece of scratch paper. Okay. Ink up just that piece. I didn't get it all. I'm going to stamp it off. And then I'm going to come in here and fill in some of that background area. Last time we filled that background area in with the Stampin' Blends. This time we're doing it with our stamp and adding some greenery. So we're just going to look where we think we might want some extra greenery. Ink that up, stamp it off. Okay. And then we're going to take our pine cone stamp and the Early Espresso ink. And this time I'm going to use this small pine cone right here. And I'm going to ink that up. And I'm going to stamp one there. These are not going to be obvious, but they are going to be seen. There. And let's put another one here. Okay. Now, you can barely see those. And what I want to do is I want to take my light crumb cake marker. Hang on. I have it in another bucket for next week's card, which is, what did I do with that basket? Right here. Okay, hang on, guys. I didn't leave ya. I stole it out of the bucket earlier today and I forgot to put it back. Okay, so I'm just going to take this light crumb cake and I'm just going to fill in those pine cones so that they're a little bit more present. And I've already done that on the ones that I stamped and cut out earlier. Okay, so we've got those. Now we've got all of our pieces. Okay, sorry about that. Almost forgot those. We needed to add that to the greenery. Now I've got ink. Evening Evergreen ink all over my hands. Okay, dry those on my pants. And take a look at this. It's going to go like this. And then we're going to put our left, center, and right. Okay, so let's go ahead and take that off and we'll put our basket down. And again, we're going to put a dimensional in the center of the basket. This time I'm going to use 2. And then I'm going to put my glue down on the sides. Make sure I get that rounded well. Okay. I'm going to move this dimensional up if I can. It's a little bit lower than I would like it. So I'm going to add that a little closer to the center there. take those. And then we're going to put this down here, like so. Hold that on. Move those out of the way. Give that a good press with the bone folder along the edge. Okay, and now our basket looks a little rounded. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put pop our flowers up again, but this time we're going to put our flowers more toward the bottom, or our dimensionals more toward the bottom. Or, yeah, because I want to tuck along the top. Okay, so we're just going to put these in like so. And you know what? I did not. Hang on. I guess I colored these. I was going to show you the puff paint on here. Now I kind of got a mess. I didn't puff these. Oops. Let's go back a step. I'll show you the puff again. I don't know what I was thinking. Okay. Let's get this. Get our board. Okay. Put our puff paint down. Oh, and this one has one right there. Okay. Now let's get that. Let's get the Twizzlers. Okay, and I don't. Well, we're just gonna go with it. We're gonna go with it. I don't know where my tissue is. Okay. So let's puff our paint. Dry it. Puff it. Okay, that time they puffed really good. All right. So now you can see what that looks like with those flowers all colored in and puffed. I have one more spot here that's a little bit wet. There we go. And you'll know when it's done because you'll be able to tell that it's all completely dried. Now it looks like we have little puffs of cotton there. All right. Now let's go ahead and put our dimensionals on the back. And I took those dimensionals off because I didn't want my glue to stick. Okay, so we've got that. We'll put this on our basket right here. Stick that down. Okay, we'll stick a dimensional under there in a minute. It's on the top. So we're going to put this one down, but we're going to put these down flat. So let's go ahead. I'm going to just use some liquid glue here. I'm going to slide this one in here like this. If I don't press, I can still move that liquid glue if I decide I don't like the placement. Especially on the vellum. So I can put that like that. And then I'm going to lift this up and slide this in right there like so. Okay, and I'm happy with that, so I'm going to make sure I give those a good press so they'll stay. And then I'm going to take a dimensional. I'm going to take the backing off now. And I'm going to take this. I'm going to slide that dimensional right underneath there. Pop that right up there in the center. Okay, so now we've got our basket. And we can add this to our card. And we're going to do that flat. And again, we did all this on the vellum so that we can add the vellum to our card and know where not to put adhesive. Because it isn't going to show as long as we put it behind our pieces. Okay. All right. So we've got that. Now we've got these two extra flowers. And we're going to take one of these. And we're just going to put a little bit of liquid glue here. Come on. Cooperate. Okay, well, you don't want to cooperate, fine. I'll pull in our silicone sheet and our Stampin' Seal. And we'll put this down here like so. And then I'm going to take another dimensional. This time I'm going to use a mini. And I'm going to put this over here. And I'm going to pop this up down here like so. But before I do that, I'm going to trim a little bit of that edging off. I'm going to go in there and take a little bit of that off just so it looks like it blends in a little bit more with that other flower. Like so. And it looks like I'm going to need a second dimensional. I don't like the way that's just sticking there. So we'll pop this under here. Like so. All right. Now all we have left is our sentiment and some bling. Okay, so I've already taken and stamped the Making Spirits Bright, and this is from the Vintage Christmas. I've stamped it on Soft Succulent in Evening Evergreen, and then I cut this with a little label from the Cracker Dies. Okay, this is an excellent set of dies to have because not only can you make the little crackers, but look at all of the sentiment labels that you get with that set. Now this is a standalone in the back of the annual catalog, so you've got all of these labels in addition to the cracker box. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put this down with some Stampin' Seal. And I'm going to put this right up here. Just like so. And I've already tied a bow with the metallic or the satin edged ribbon. This is the gold, vanilla and gold satin edged ribbon. I'm going to take a glue dot or two. I'm going to put a glue dot to the side of each on the right and left of the knot. And then I'm also going to add one to the knot of the bow. And then we're going to place this right here. Okay. Fluff up our little bows. And last but not least, we'll take some of the festive pearls in the gold. What did I do with my take your pick tool? There it is. Got quite the mess. Okay, let's get rid of some of that stuff. And we're gonna take our take your pick tool, and we're going to put a gold dot here, a gold dot here, and then we'll put one up here. I always like to put them in a triangle, and there is the finished card. Okay. And here is the envelope for that one. Because what do I always say? No naked envelopes. All right. So there's that one. Let's bring back in the first card. And there are our projects for tonight. So I hope that shows you that the Autumn Harvest bundle is not just for autumn. You can turn that bundle with a couple of other things right into a beautiful Christmas card. All right, thanks guys. I'm so glad you love those cards tonight. So next week I have a couple of projects already planned, and unless I decide to use the new collection that's releasing on November 1st, we will be using the Yeti bundle, but I've got the cutest little projects for Christmas for those. We're going to start our 12 projects of Christmas next week. I can't tell you the schedule. I will definitely be live every Wednesday, but I might be popping on some other time during the weekend. It'll be weekend because I'm booked every night of the week with some other Christmas projects. But I'll give you a shout out and let you know when I'm going live so you'll know. But for now, my next live will be on Wednesday at the regular time at 7, and it will be all Christmas from here on out until at least the beginning of December. All right. Oh, thank you, Robin. Glad you love those cards. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining me. See you back here next Wednesday. Same time, same bat channel. Good night.